The excitement is in the air,
Yes,
Jamie.
it is.
We are talking about
LifeWise Academy. I love it.
LifeWise Academy. We have Program Director Frank Zenner, along with his lovely wife, Patty Zenner, who is the volunteer coordinator. And so you guys are, taking care of that program out there in Perrysburg, Ohio, right?
That's correct.
Yes, that's
Well,
correct.
thank you so much for joining us today. Perhaps you can share with us a little bit about the mission of LifeWise Academy.
Well, LifeWise desires to share the gospel with public school students during school hours, and that's a key phrase. And we strive to positively impact students, schools, and communities through a Bible-based, character-focused, release time religious instruction program. We want to see kids grow to their full development. We believe the best way to do that is through a Bible education.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, maybe there's a lot there that we're going to dive into and
you'll
kind
have to
of
unpack
pick that apart, throughout the interview. But, maybe first tell us, how did LifeWise get started?
Well, it started actually in Van Wert County. They were doing a release time religious instruction for a number of years with great success. They were between 60 and 95% participation in their schools. So they called on Joel Penton, a former student and an OSU football player, and asked him, why isn't this going around the country? It's working so well here. And the consensus was that it was just too difficult to pull together. You have to pay teachers, you have to have insurance, you may need vehicles, you may need a building, all that kind of stuff was too much. So they created a plug and play model.
So what do you mean by a plug and play model?
Well, when you think about all the barriers that you need in order to start an academy, there's the logistics, there's the school relations, there's perhaps transportation, because this has to be off school site. So the plug and play model is basically a replicable or scalable model that we can hand to communities so that they can get up and running. And basically what they did in 2019 is that they piloted this with 2 schools in Ohio, and they got the same kind of results they had in Van Wert. When they started in Van Wert, they were like 60 to 65%, and after 3 years, they were up to 95%. So it's just been growing exponentially. Some of the stats that I have in 2023, there were 133 schools. They finished the year with 133 schools.
Wow.
And that's about 15,000 young people enrolled in the program.
Well, praise the
At
Lord.
the end of 2024, which we've just ended, they've pretty much doubled it. They're at 331 schools now, and the number of enrollments is 30,000. So.
Well, that is awesome. Another word that you said in there was release time. So maybe, tell us a little bit about that. What do you mean?
Well, back in 1952, long time ago, the Supreme Court ruled that we could educate our children if we took them out of the school, off the property of the school, and if no funds were being taken from the government and they had parental permission, that they could be released from school for religious instruction. So that's what that is, release time religious instruction. So as long as we're not on school property, as long as the school or the government is not paying for it and parents allow it, they can come.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing right in the middle of the school day.
Yeah, and that was actually a Supreme Court decision back in 1952.
1952.
Well, I'm glad we finally got with the program and started it.
Right.
We're a little slow on the uptake, but thanks to the Supreme Court to do that for us way back then. But tell us a little bit about the Perrysburg program, when you're going to start your instruction, how often it is, what grades are available, and what a day would look like for a session would look like for the children.
Well, we're going to start September 9th. We always give the schools a little opportunity to get up and running. One of the blessings of this year is that we were in 2 schools last year. Perrysburg has 4 elementary schools, and we're expanding to 4 schools. So that's the exciting part about this year. We still have open enrollment. We're still gathering enrollments and permission slips. Remember we talked about it being private, being parent permitted. So that's kind of the key. So we're still in the throes of that.
Well, I know it's getting promoted in Perrysburg. My husband and I just went on a walk last night.
Yeah.
And
You see the yard
I saw
signs?
the yard signs. I was like, yay!
You know, and actually last week I was driving by Oak Bend Church. I think we have a few pictures, and I stopped because I was so impressed. So I was driving by Oak Bend Church in Perrysburg, Ohio, and I saw this red bus, and I'm like, my, what is that? And then I saw this bus with LifeWise Academy. So will that bus actually be used to pick up
That is
children?
one of the buses.
One of the buses.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's wonderful. One of the many buses.
It's not just a piece of art in front of the church. It will be used.
Yeah.
And I saw one.
But it is
off of
our rolling
795.
billboard. I call it
Yes.
the rolling billboard.
Yes, rolling
That's-
billboard.
Looks great.
Yes, we park them at Perrysburg Alliance, and for the summer we've had it at Oak Bend. But in another week and a half, they'll be rolling around town
With kids in them.
with kids
Right,
in them.
right,
All
right.
right, that's great.
Yeah.
So, so let's say a child walks into, you know, the off property, the off school property. What will they experience in that session? How long will it last? How is it? 1 day a week? You know, how does that work?
Well, we do our classes during lunchtime and recess. So they get escorted by one of our staff people off campus onto the bus and back to churches. We're using four local churches. And in that time, they see a video that's a Bible story. They talk about the Bible story. They play games around the Bible story. They do crafts around the Bible story. They're looking to learn not only scripture, but how the gospel plays into that. So every week they're hearing something about the gospel. So if you're looking at David and Goliath, maybe they're talking about how courageous he was and where did that courage come from, and how did Jesus display courage when he lived on the earth. You know, what kind of courage did it take to go to the cross? So it always goes back to the gospel. They're learning scripture, playing games, having fun.
Wow.
So their curriculum, is this something that, you know, parents can learn a little bit about before they put their child in this program? Because I'm sure you might find a little bit of pushback until people find out what this is really all about.
So many adults will be familiar with the Gospel Project. It takes you through the Bible in 3 years, and you hit every book of the Bible. And the neat thing about it is that they have Jesus, they show Jesus in each of the books of the Bible. And what they've done is they've taken that 3-year program and they've customized it for our use. Patty, I don't know if you want to share a little bit about that.
Yeah,
The
they
tracks, different
they
tracks.
pull out the summer
Yeah.
gospel project lessons and just push it out, so it expands over 5 years. So you could teach it from kindergarten through 5th grade, kindergarten through 4th grade. You can do 1st through 5th. It's for elementary, that project, so goes up. But we also have middle school and high school curriculum also put out by Lifeway.
Okay.
Do any of the junior highs or high schools in Perrysburg?
At this
Not
point,
in
no.
Perrysburg.
It's pretty
At this
new to
point,
Perrysburg.
no,
Yeah, this
it's
is
pretty
only
new.
our second year.
Yeah.
So last year we did 2 elementaries. This year we're doing 4. Who knows? Someday we'll get to Hope Prairie Intermediate
Yeah,
or junior high
middle
or high
school.
school. That's our dream.
since
That
it's-
was the goal.
Yeah, so since it's new for you guys and you've been, you know, through the process, it's very fresh. If there's other people out there, part of other communities that don't have this, you know, what do they need to do to get it going?
Well, we do have a slide that has the website. It's lifewise.org, and if you go to lifewise.org, you can learn more about Lifewise and give you information about how it got started and that. If you want to find your school, you go to lifewise.org, and across the top there's a ribbon that says Find Your School. You just click on that, plug in your state, then your school district, and you can see where you are in the process. Because there is a process. You know, one part of that plug and play model is that they actually take you through the launch process. And once you get 50 signatures, then Lifewise begins to work with you, and that's how the process works.
Just 50 signatures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
sure there's some ambitious parents out there that would love to see their kids have this. Yeah. So what about cost?
To the families, no cost.
No cost at all.
No cost. This is community and church funded.
Yes.
So
It's privately funded.
we get all our monies by raising them, kind of like you guys do here.
So you're kind of representing Perrysburg, but all throughout Northwest Ohio and Southeastern Michigan, WLMB's viewing area. Could you name some of the other schools that have LifeWise Academy available to them right now for this upcoming year?
Well, I always like to give a shout out to Eastwood and Elmwood, because the folks over at Eastwood started before us, and they gave us a lot of advice whenever we were going down this whole pathway of launching a program. So shout out to Eastwood and Elmwood. Other schools, we certainly think of ourselves in Northwest Ohio as Van Wert as having a legacy already, but we think about Defiance, and we think about
Archbold, Bryan, Spencerville, Elida.
And I was hoping, I have a little inside information.
Sure.
I was hoping you would say Napoleon, Ohio.
Napoleon
I
is
think
in
Napoleon's in there.
Yes,
Yes,
Napoleon is
yes.
in there.
Because one of my nephews actually goes to Napoleon LifeWise Academy. And he absolutely loves it.
Good.
Is a highlight of his week. So how many times a week? Is it once a week?
Once a week.
Once a week.
Once a week. I think about a third of the school districts in Ohio have been tapped already. I mean, so we're really moving in Ohio. It's Ohio and Indiana, but I see the map behind you. We're now in as of August of this year, we're now in 29 states. The 13 that you see in red have active programs that have been involved at least for a year. The yellow states that you see they're confirmed, meaning that they have permission to move forward and that they're in the pipeline. So they'll either be starting here soon or in the next few months. So 29 states is a lot.
You don't always have to start at the beginning of the school year. Some start January. We had one last year that started 3 weeks before school ended, just to get
So that
it
plug
in
and
there.
play model allows you to start literally anytime.
Anytime you're ready.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I do have this question for people that might say, why during school hours? Why not after school hours? There's so many programs, but why during school hours?
Good question.
Yeah,
John.
it is a
Good
great
question. But we know how involved kids are. They have all kinds of activities after school, before school. Parents are busy. They can't always transport kids where they need to be. This allows every child that opportunity because it's going out through the school. Everybody's there at lunch, especially for those kids who don't know the Lord.
Yeah.
This is an open door for them to come join us.
It does hit a different target audience. We're looking at unchurched or nominally churched. We certainly get people who are in the church, but it's just exciting to be able to have that outreach. And I think during school hours is the key. The other programs before school and after school, they are great. We don't want to diminish them in any way, but during school hours is the way to go.
All right. Well, that is wonderful news, and just so excited to have it in Perrysburg and so many other schools in Ohio and Michigan as well. And we're just going to be praying that God will use you effectively with all your volunteers to be able to, talk about the gospel with so many young children. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And so one last time, if people want to get involved or volunteer, what's the website they need to go to?
Lifewise.org. And if you're interested in Perrysburg, it's lifewise.org/PerrysburgOH.
Well, wonderful. You guys are doing an amazing thing. You won't even know the fruit that you have until, you're
Amen.
Do you think we can talk you into coming back to Toledo Live maybe at the end of the school year so we can kind of get a recap as to how the year went?
Hear about the fruit of it.
That would be great. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you.
One more plug. I saw last night Mommy and Bluffton need less than 10 signatures in order to be ready to start their
All right, Mommy and Bluffton.
You hear that?
You
That's
hear
right,
that
that's right,
challenge?
that's right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's
Go to the
gonna happen.
website. We'll figure out a way to get your signature on that paper in Maumee, Ohio and Bluffton, Ohio.